Hi guys, how's it going? In this video we're going to examine what must be one of the more blatant examples of conservative cronyism and political malpractice, quite frankly, ever witnessed. It has been conducted with precision and provides an example of just how much this brigade of numpties viewed the electorate in the UK with complete contempt. So let's go.
Good Lord, didn't anybody here subscribe?
Now, as you are no doubt aware, Rishi Sunak announced the reduction of duty applicable to beer. That was welcomed by the masses, and media is going, yo, 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 yo. Now, what some of you may be aware of also is that a couple of months ago, we examined one of the main celebrities, you know, the celebrity type supporters of Brexit. And one that stood out was Witherspoon's owner, Tim Martin. Now, again, I repeat that though I hate saying I told you so, it is the only phrase that is relevant to this bloke and his government's buddies. You see, back then, we examined why in the hell this bloke was so pro-Brexit. We couldn't quite understand it. And we came up with a theory which has now become a reality. And let me explain why. You see, as we all know, that Witherspoon's business model depends on bar sales. Not so much off license, just bar sales, though they do have a wholesale business as well. That business was, prior to Brexit, basically being whittled away by the smaller one-man bands and micro-brewers. Why? Well, let's look at the wine guys first. If a bloke with an internet connection who was willing to work his socks off could provide niche products to his clients, he had something. He could buy a few cases and sell it by the bottle, either to the local wine shops or over the net or to the local restaurants. The advantage he had over the local wine off license was that he could, if he was willing and able to work on it, provide credit facilities to his customers who had small shops and didn't wish to have to buy crates of wine in from France or wherever they were bringing it from. The small entrepreneur was able to import just one crate of wine with a few cases of wine from smaller vineyards mixed in that couldn't match the market access of the big brands and big importers. You see, the big importers could bring 2 or 3, 4 or 5, you know, but they're massive containers. But with the smaller business model, they were able to cut out the middleman. Now, the middleman in the case of the big wine producers is actually the vineyard itself, because the big brands, they do not grow all their raw materials and instead contract out their grape supply from surrounding vineyards. But if those vineyards could set themselves up to produce their own wine, then the cost saving through the economy of scale reached by the big boys could be matched and also improved upon. Okay? To do this, however, they needed small dealers in the UK that would not demand a container of just 1 or 2 varieties. On the small importer within the UK side, though there was duty attached to the import of wine for resale, the paperwork was basically insignificant and transport was cheap and it was convenient. This allowed them to compete not just on quality. They were able to compete by offering more choice. They were also able to compete on price. This meant that the big boys were not able to squeeze them out. But for Witherspoons, however, this was not the only problem. In fact, though it was significant, this was by no means the least of their problems. Okay? The big problem Witherspoons faced was the emergence of the microbrewers up and down the length and breadth of the UK. You see, these guys did not depend on the big brands such as Carlsberg or Heineken, Guinness, etc. I can tell you from experience that a local pub will get jerked around by the big boys to such a degree that it's even hard to fathom. They will insist on procedures that they do not impose on their big clients. There will be vast differences in retrospective discounts. The service, both from deliveries and from tap maintenance, will not even come close to that of the chains. Okay? They will be restricted, take for instance, to what other brands they are allowed to sell. Now, this restriction, though viewed by many as unlawful, is commonly practiced throughout the UK because the big boys all play the same game and they all agree by their own rules. But the microbrewers, well, they don't care. And as a result, they can conduct their business in a manner that maximizes their return and not that of the big factories, okay? Now, this business was growing steadily, at least up until COVID, that is, of course. So now that you have the background, you may be asking yourself, where in the hell is he going with this? What am I doing here? You know, so let me help you out on that one, okay? Sunak has reduced the cost of duty on draft beer by 5% from 2023. And this was welcomed by all the producers of draft beer. Or was it? The answer is, it wasn't. It was welcomed by all the big players like Witherspoons or like Nick McKenzie, the CEO of Green King, who's the UK biggest pub brewer, which has something like 2,500 outlets. But it wasn't welcomed by the microbrewers. In fact, to them, it could actually be a killer blow because the reduction on duty only applies to the larger kegs. And this is almost exclusively used by the big brewers and not the smaller kegs that are used almost exclusively by the microbrewers, okay? Now ask yourselves this question. Why in the hell would you exclude the most commonly used size of keg in the microbrewing industry that is growing gangbusters and is supporting tens of thousands of jobs in the UK? Unless you wish to give the bigger players, who by the way support less workers per pint served, a competitive advantage against the smaller players, right? I could make the case even stronger by reminding you that handling those large kegs is actually quite tough for a grown bull of a man, let alone a smaller man or a woman. The reduction only refers to kegs that are at least 40 kilos each, or that's more than 6 stone, and with most of the big kegs are 50 kilograms each, which is 8 stone, okay? Most beers will last just about 4 days once the keg is opened. If you have a busy bar like Witherspoons, this is not an issue. You're turning over the barrels quite regularly. But if you have a smaller outlet, you may well need to have smaller kegs, okay? In order to ensure that A, your customers always receive the beer as it's meant to be served, and B, you reduce any waste, okay? Now, I hope this gives you some form of an insight into just how manipulative this government is. They are basically constantly disguising steel economic hammers in cuddly, colourful socks before crashing it over the families of those that are not within their inner circle. Now, Sunak has so far, we were on the fence with regard to Sunak, but this move by Sunak shows that he is just acting for his own cronies. There was no rhyme or reason to exclude the smaller barrels. None at all. Some are going to say that's a mistake. I say to them, don't be so naive. Don't be so bloody stupid. Because most people don't know the size of a barrel or the weight of a barrel of beer. So they had to look that up. And they would have discovered there's basically 3 sizes. There's a 30, there's a 50, there's a 30, a 40, and a 50. But most of them in the microbrewers are 30. In fact, nearly all. So they did this deliberately to help their conservative cronies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side. Take care.